in my opinion, the most protected workforce in this nation are the health workers and the teachers. Yeah, the health workers and the teachers. Well, I could say lawyers, but there'll be a conflict of interest. But moving on to another reason why we go into debt. Macroeconomics. We wanted to be independent economically, but it is very difficult to operate as an island in this world of globalization. Whatever something might happen, we call Taiwan, the effects will be felt here.
Yeah.
And Kenya, at its inception, had two choices: Africanize skilled jobs or import expertise through expatriates. Create and protect local industries versus letting the free market decide capital flow. And when you look at the development plan I told you about, it is kind of capitalist, kind of socialist. And so there are certain events that precipitated difficulties in running Kenya's economy. An example is the Arab-Israeli war. In my small research, I discovered we faced two oil shocks, one in the 1970s, one in the 1980s, and it adversely affected our balance of payment account. So in the 70s, oil became very expensive. In fact, oil quadrupled in price. And oil, when oil goes up, everything
goes up.
Yeah, and Kibaki had that difficult task of raising. Hii vitu tunapigana sahi, mahindi ilipanda, mkate ilipanda, maziwa ilipanda. Everything had to be reorganized so that it can accommodate the shocks that we were feeling. Remember the Cold War?
Yeah.
There was Cold War politics, and you find that it affected the pricing of certain imports. You have technology and globalization. Remember, even at our independence, we were primarily a production state, not a manufacturing one.
Yeah.
That the late 19th to the beginning of the 20th century saw the rise in complex manufactured goods and machinations, automations that needed, some kind of skill and training so that you can have them locally. So there was a shift in the bargaining power between producers and manufacturers. Manufacturers were getting an upper hand. And Kenya, being organized as primarily a production state, was in a bit of a quandary. Our main export, in fact, the coffee, the boom mix we had was because of coffee and tea, which and we did not export finished products. Yeah, we actually exported raw materials going to be processed, but it's still good profit. The macroeconomics of the time also affected our economics, and it forced us to go for additional debts. In fact, the first debt we obtained from an international commercial entity came from the Chicago Bank. Apart from government to government, we had a loan. I think this was for $15 million US.
Okay.
From the Chicago Bank. It's called the First National Bank of Chicago. 15 million USD for budgetary support. That is in 1972. Yeah, remember the shock comes in 1971.
71,
So you can understand, macroeconomics affect local economics.
Yeah.
When the government says the Russia-Ukraine war is affecting our economics, to some extent, yeah,
It is.
it is true. But how true? The devil
is in the
always
details.
Yeah. And I would encourage listeners to look, what industries are affected by the Russia-Ukraine war? What industries are affected by the Israel-Gaza war? Yeah? Do we really depend so much on Israel for flour? Where does our flour come from? Where does our fertilizer come from? Do we have options? Is it just Russia and Israel that are producing these goods? Anyway, macroeconomics. I don't know if you have a question on that.
No, we can keep on. We can keep moving on.
Another problem that we faced was government spending. Now, earlier I had uploaded the ICDC for its investment ventures and the successes it achieved, the milestones it crossed. But at some point, political interests. The ventures were bloated. Most of them never paid taxes, which begs the question, why were they even formed in the first place? Some of them did not were not sustainable. And remember, these were all established by loans. Kuna deni tunalipa ya 1972, 2024. Sijui kama ni loan ya Chicago Bank but kuna madeni tunalipa
all the way from the 70s.
Yeah, and realize that if government would have prioritized, sababu hii ni pesa ya deni, hii si pesa yako. If government would have prioritized and strategized its investment during that time, we wouldn't be talking about these things right now. The institutions would actually be paying those loans for themselves. It wouldn't have had to come out of the taxpayer's pocket. And if it had, it wouldn't be to an extent that it is right now. I believe, are we paying 7 shillings for every 10 bob?
Imagine. Unajua, something that you've said that has resonated with me, and I think we even mentioned it before we started recording, but let me give this analogy first. Because government spending, overspending is the right word, seems to be the bane of our existence. Not only as Kenya, but very many African states face the same problem. Government overspending. Yeah, government seems to create so many unnecessary either parastatals, or they seem to venture into so many things that are very unnecessary that end up eating money that shouldn't be allocated there in the first place. Yeah. Now, we spoke about the ICDC. Yes, and yes, that was a really, really good venture, at least when it started. And the thing that you mentioned is that the basic idea of where we want to go as a country is there, but the implementation is always lacking. Yeah, because what it feels like at this moment, looking at all that and looking at where we are currently, it's like you living with your folks, with your parents. I heard this somewhere and I would like to echo it. Yeah, you living with your parents. Yeah, your parents are like, we need to do this and this, so we really need to take a loan. Like, okay, my parents have vision, let them take that loan. Loan in India, they use part of it for what they actually meant to do with it. The rest, wanakula. Like, okay, this is weird. Look, like, okay, maybe this is just a one-timer, yeah? It will only happen once. Then your parents say again, by the way, there's something else we need to do, plus we didn't finish what we started, we need another loan. They go for another loan, you're like, maybe Now that they did it the first time, they are wiser. They will not do the same thing. But now it even becomes worse. Only a small portion of what they've taken, they use it for what it was intended for, and the rest they eat. Yeah? And you're like, okay, where we stand at the moment is that my parents are taking these loans, because now it's not only just one. They're taking these loans, but the question is, now that they're not using it, how they said they would use it, in probably ways that would help bring return and to pay back that loan. Now that they're not using it for what they meant to do with it, who is going to pay this loan, and how is it going to pay? And when you go to your parents to ask that question, they tell you, oh, by the way, you want to unalipa. It feels like we're in that situation. Yeah. You find yourself 10, 15, 40, 50, and in the case of Kenya, this is how many years of independence? 60 something, yeah?
You're turning 60 this year.
You're turning 60. 60 years of independence. 60 years worth of loans. And you, who were not even born when they were taken, are expected to pay it. It seems like, this doesn't seem like a really good deal. And the funny part is that, back to my analogy, now that you're the grandchild or the great-grandchild, the funny part is the beginners of that generation, plus their kids, plus their kids' kids, did the same trend. And now you're seeing your parents doing the same thing that was done in generations past, and they're expecting you to shut up about it. All tied back to government overspending, because this is basically a function of governance. You are expected to lead us where we are to go, but we expect you to lead us wisely. Now that we see that is not the case, why are people still quiet about it?
Brings me to the third problem we have, which is our response to corruption. We also have ourselves to blame. Okay, not us. Gen Z is tuko sawa. We have seen the problem and we are talking about it, and we will continue talking about it. But you look at times past, so many people have died trying to make Kenya better. And it seems like the population was like, don't try this
Don't
at
do
home.
that.
Don't try this at home.
Exactly.
You remember the NHIF whistleblower? She was assassinated loudly and publicly to send a message, right? Corruption should be given the weight it deserves. It is a very serious matter. And in fact, I am of the opinion that, something lower than a national emergency, but a serious, I don't know if there's a term for it, there should be specialized attention to corruption cases, to the extent that the law allows for the Chief Justice to appoint people called commissioners of assize to fast track cases. Look at EACC cases. EACC is doing something. I see them posting their cases on their Twitter accounts, how far they've gone, the orders they've obtained, the people who have been incarcerated. Well and good. Still not enough. There's more that can be done. And I strongly feel that the judiciary should assist the EACC in prosecuting these cases. If we had commissioners of assize to fast track some of these cases, you've had somebody spend 25 million on flowers that are dead right now. Dead.
Yeah.
We have an issue of compliance with court orders. We need an active citizenry. Hii headache tunapatia serikali should not be a one-time thing. They should have a migraine. They should have a migraine that goes on even past 2027. We are seeing political strategies Raila is there actually to ensure Ruto is in power till 2032.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, we know what. Well, poor Venezuelans. I won't comment for now.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Justice.
It really is.
Justice.
Yeah.
Even if Ruto gets into power in 2027, 2032, we should be there to give him that headache. This movement should not stop. Yeah? Blood has been shed and should not be for nothing. We should not be, sorry to say, like the generations that have come. And we're not just adjuring that generation. We're inviting them to join us. It should not just be Gen Z, it should be Gen Zote. Because now this is a Kenyan issue. This is not just a youth issue. This is a Kenyan issue. Your pension is getting affected.
But Onojo, when you think about it, and I remember most of these things, I wish you could walk around with a camera on us all the time. Because most of these things we even discuss outside, behind the camera, is that two generations, the generation that came before us, very quiet, very subdued is the word I was looking for. A very subdued generation where, as you put it, they are too, how did you put it? They are too compliant with authority. They do not question authority at all. And we're in the generation which questions authority. Sometimes a lot, sometimes the right amount of time, but we question authority. Yeah. But here's the thing. Even taking your plight to generations past feels like it will come for naught. Because they've already sunk into that mindset where whatever comes from the man is what we should do. Because look at what is happening now. There have been protests which from the very onset was said to be peaceful protests. Chaos came with police involvement. Now, whether the police are good or bad, story for another day. But chaos came with police involvement plus a few bad seeds which you will not lack anywhere. But the protests have been largely peaceful up until police involvement. And what is the current government using to basically to fight the fire? They're saying these people are destroying our country. These people are destroying our country. They're destroying our businesses. Do not let them get on the streets again, because they are a detriment to our economy. And what is the generations past doing? They're like, by the way,
it is these people.
It is these people, not forgetting that minus these protests, that bill would have passed.
Yes. And by the way, juzi ndio Ruto ameamua kuongeza salary ya polisi. And he would take credit for that, but I want to tell the police, salary haijaongeza sababu ya Ruto, salary imeongeza sababu ya Gen Z. It is because of us that you have that salary. The Justice Emeritus Maraga, Maraga, was tasked to do a survey, make recommendations on the police service, how to improve the standard of living, to look at the gaps and what has been happening. And he made recommendations. What happened to those recommendations? Who are the first people to oppose those recommendations? The bosses, the police bosses are the first people to oppose those recommendations.
Which begs the question, why?
I had a conversation with someone and he said, one of the guys said, hey, wakiweka hizi vitu polisi wataribu kazi. Kazi gani? Kazi gani? We have not seen prosecution. We have not. They want us to have dialogue. I want to echo Kasmol's remarks that we cannot have dialogue when we have some of us the autopsy table. This is life we're talking about. This is life. We will not just ignore, and we know who did these things. As much as you say, "Oh, we have no witnesses," what is the state of your witness protection program? What is the
It is
state of your-
non-existent. It
Evidence
is
management.
basically non-existent. It wasn't even long ago we saw a police officer, a female police officer, handling evidence bare hands. Critical pieces of evidence, bare hands, and it was by chance caught on camera. Now imagine that is only one. How many more are there that disregard this? Does it make sense that we have a police service, and I say that with as much sarcasm as possible? Is it possible? How does it make sense that you have a police service that doesn't seem to solve as many cases as it should? Because here's the thing: in as much as we may have issues, I do not believe we are in a state of want to the point where we are not able to solve simple cases. Think about the female cop who killed, was it the lover? Yeah, and went missing. The police were on her case, hot on her trails. Yeah, keeping tabs of when she switched on her phone, when it went off, who she was communicating at, where she was at. But for some reason, that same vigor is not applied to each and every case, of which, granted, that is not, I do not want to say it is not possible, but most of the time it does not happen. Yeah. So we are in a very weird state as a country.
We are in a transitionary stage, and it is my strong desire. Again, you can't ignore the impact of education. Mr. Ikimea, betrayal in the city. You remember Judge Asdak. These were all, and I think it is a way of the educators frustrated. Don't mess with education. Frustrate a teacher, he'll bring a whole generation after you.
They planted these seeds.
Yes, and I'm proud to see the fruits of their labor. I want to encourage our teachers. Teaching is a calling. More than just being a source of income, it is a calling. You're basically the oracle of the nation. You in your hands lies the destiny of that nation. Teachers produce presidents, teachers produce ministers, teachers produce all types of professionals. Yeah. And even talking about the remuneration of teachers, the most paid teachers should be the ECD. Yeah. They are the ones that have the most impact in the development of a child. I think we should dedicate a session just to talk about education and the quality of information that is out there. But yeah, that was the third reason: complacency of the electorate.
Electorate.
Jamani. Anyway.
How? Wapiga kura. Electorate. I think it's electorate.
They don't do the same justice to our language, so I apologize. But those are the reasons that drag us deeper and deeper into debt, as per my analysis. I'm still looking at our debt history. So far, I have an understanding till 1982. And to our viewers, anyone who's out there, I would really want an investigation into the ICBC, because incidentally, Chris Kirubi was there. And in Kenya, Kenya is the only place where you have billionaires, but you don't really know what they are producing.
True.
Very many billionaires, like wanauza nini?
You just see people having billionaire status and you're like, how did you get there?
Uliuza makao
Mwingine aliuza kuku.
mtu mahali amechoma Mau Forest karibu ishe. Nothing here.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a meticulous analysis of our history and the history of our institutions and people involved. We need to find those reports because, for example, according to the Act, the ICDC is to pay surplus funds into the consolidated fund. And what is determined to be surplus is the finance minister at the time to determine. My question is, how much has been paid to the consolidated fund? Can we have the minutes? Can Parliament make those minutes available, the statement of accounts and everything? Because I think it is important for us to follow the money.
Yeah.
Follow the money, my friend, because that is where you'll have the answers. And let us not forget that Uhuru Kenyatta has contributed to our debt crisis.
Yes, greatly.
Yeah, he's retired. Well and good, fine. We will revisit. We have to revisit those books as far as they go. We have to revisit Kibaki's regime. We have to revisit Moi's regime. We have to revisit Kenyatta's regime. Even if it may not be possible to catch that rat, we need to understand the problem. I was listening to a radio station. They give proverbs in the morning, and one of the proverbs recently was, you set the trap after the rat is gone. The interpretation for them was open-ended, that first the problem will come, then you give the solution. But to me, it is more like expect that problem again. If you see that problem, expect it again. So we've been cheated, let me say once, because I'm speaking for my generation. We've been cheated once. Let us not be cheated again. We are wealthy. We are wealthy. We have gold. We have titanium. We have nobium. Right? What is there? Are there any reports as to the geological status of this country?
We have oil.
That allegedly is too waxy. What is this oil that is
too waxy?
We have so many resources that are underexploited. You talk about the gold smuggling. I was wondering, hii gold hizi kando tunasikia Tangula na smuggle gold inatoka wapi? Kumbe kuna mines Nyatike. And not just Nyatike, I hear there's gold in Masai Mara. Now, when you hear that rumor and you get to see the charges right now, is it 26,000?
Yeah.
To get into the park, and you can't get in using your private vehicle. Well, I had an argument that the tourism wildlife there's a certain ratio that has to be maintained in wildlife reserves and national parks, and Mara is in a bad state. Basically, we've commercialized it so much that you can see the difference between the Mara and the Serengeti. Like there's even less grass in the Mara. And there could be an argument that, okay, we're trying to rehabilitate the environment. Sawa. Meanwhile, we want a geological survey. So you are rehabilitating.
Yeah.
I'm talking about we will still do that geological survey. And the Northlands Range Trust needs to come clean as to what it's doing. Okay? We the amount of information that is coming out we need clarity.
Yeah.
We need clarity. Like, okay, we've had this, government, kindly make it clear for us. I've been trying to look at geological surveys. I don't know if there's anything. I don't know if there's anything. And if we've not conducted it, first of all, why have we not conducted it? But, okay, let us conduct it as soon as possible. Let us, and I think if we have the minerals that allegedly we have, it may have been a blessing in disguise that we're discovering it right now. Because look at Congo. Yeah, look at Zimbabwe. Zambia. Zambia is ranked as one of the poorest nations in the world, but there is a mining company there that is reporting profits of 80 billion.
Makes no sense.
80 billion.
Makes no
USD,
sense.
not Zambian.
Yeah.